Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're here to unpack really interesting ideas and bring them straight to you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And today, we're diving into something, well, pretty profound, actually. It's about weight loss, especially now with these powerful new medical tools like semaglutide.
Right. The ones that really reduce appetite.
Exactly. And how that journey isn't just about the numbers on the scale. It really reshapes us, not just physically, but psychologically, emotionally. It's deep.
It really is. And that's our mission today, isn't it? To explore what actually happens when that physical hunger, that constant noise, starts to fade.
And these deeper questions start popping up.
Precisely. We've gathered some fascinating field notes from a series called The Quiet Window, and also a really personal take on reframing failure.
Yeah.
And it all seems to orbit around the insights of this guide, Dan Hollis.
Okay, Dan Hollis.
Yeah.
So we're not just talking pounds lost. We're looking at the emotional territory that opens up after the initial change, which can be, well, surprising, maybe even unsettling.
Often, yeah. What does it actually mean to kind of arrive in this new body, this new self, when the old one still feels welfare?
Yeah, like it hasn't quite caught up. Okay, let's get into it.
Let's do it.
So but first up is this idea Dan Hollis calls the quiet window. Let's talk about Kate. She's 46, mother of 3, about 2 months into using semaglutide.
Okay.
She's lost 7 pounds, which, sounds like progress. But the really surprising thing for her wasn't the weight loss. It was the silence, the complete absence of cravings.
That silence, it's powerful. Because Kate, like so many people, she knew hunger. It was a rhythm.
A familiar beat, yeah.
Totally. Afternoon slump, chips,
Yeah.
feeling lonely, bread, celebrating something good, cake, because, maybe the joy wouldn't stick around otherwise.
She had a whole story built around food, a way of coping.
Exactly. And then suddenly she's walking past the pantry, this place that used to practically call her name, and nothing, like she said, nothing reached back. She felt like a ghost in her own kitchen, or another way she put it, her brain felt like a library after hours.
Wow. That quiet must have been loud in its own way.
That's exactly what Dan Hollis labels the quiet window. That moment, he says, where the food stops answering your questions and the really ones start talking.
The real question is, okay. But you'd think that would feel like victory, right? The cravings are gone.
You'd think. But for many, it doesn't start that way. It often comes with this really unexpected feeling. Grief.
Grief over losing cravings. That
Yeah.
sounds backwards.
It does, doesn't it? But Dan points out, Kate wasn't really mourning the food. She missed the signal, the rhythm, the self-story that said, at least I know how to feel full. It was the familiar pattern, the known comfort, even if it wasn't healthy. Without it, she felt like everything feels like truth now.
Oh, wow. No buffer.
No buffer. And in that quiet, that's when these huge questions bubble up.
What am I actually hungry for if I'm not physically hungry?
Yeah, exactly. Or who even am I without this constant chase for food or fullness?
What's left when all that noise just stops?
And this is where Dan Hollis's approach is different. He doesn't just offer pep talks or stricter rules. He talks about providing scaffolding.
Scaffolding,
That-
like support structures.
Yeah, practical, tailored support. And recognition, helping people actually name and understand what they're feeling. He sees the medication, semaglutide, as something that clears the runway.
Clears the runway.
So you can finally see what's actually trying to land, emotionally, psychologically. It gives you a chance to build real momentum, not just based on restriction.
Okay, so what did that scaffolding look like for Kate? Was it some huge revelation?
No, not dramatic at all. That's the key. It was subtle, really subtle, but significant. Like one Wednesday, she noticed she felt sad, but she didn't automatically reach for snacks.
Just noticed it.
Just noticed it. Then maybe a Thursday, she
Yeah.
poured herself a glass of wine, thought about a second, and decided on tea instead. And then one Sunday, she went for a walk. Not because she had to burn calories, but because, in her words, it felt like a conversation with her future self.
That's beautiful.
Isn't it? And the point is, she's not done. She's not fixed. She hasn't magically transformed. But as Dan would say, she's here, in the quiet, listening.
That really lands.
Mm.
And maybe for you listening, if you felt that strange quiet, that unsettling lack of the usual noise from cravings,
Yeah.
the message here is you're not broken.
Yeah.
It might just mean you're starting to actually hear yourself, maybe for the first time in a long time. Welcome to the quiet window.
Yeah.
You're definitely not alone in that space.
It's a beginning, not an end point. And that feeling, that quiet space, it often leads right into the next big challenge we saw in the sources.
Yeah.
Feeling like a stranger when you look in the mirror.
Ah, okay. This sounds like Adrienne's story. 53 years old, hadn't taken a full-body photo in, what, 12 years?
Yeah, avoided it completely. Then one morning, just brushing her teeth, she glances up, and she just didn't recognize herself. The face was thinner, sure, lines were sharper, but her eyes, she said they looked older and newer at the same time.
Whoa. Older and newer.
Yeah. She felt, and this is a quote, peeled back and rearranged without being asked. Like this new version of her didn't quite belong to her yet.
Even though, objectively, the changes were positive, the one she was aiming for with the semaglutide.
Exactly. For Adrienne, it wasn't a moment of triumph like, yes, I did it. It felt unsettlingly like a disappearance.
A disappearance, that's a strong word.
It is. She knew intellectually it was her reflection, but the emotional connection, that sense of self, wasn't clicking.
And this is where Dan Hollis comes in again, right? He has a term for this, too.
He does. He calls it identity lag.
Identity lag. Makes sense.
And his explanation is fascinating. He says, your body can change faster than your story. And when that happens, the soul gets confused.
The soul gets confused. Wow.
And here's the really counterintuitive part. Dan argues that most people think losing the weight is the hard part. The struggle, the diet, the exercise.
Yeah, that's what we always focus on.
But he says the real crisis is in the moments after. After the hunger fades, after the old rituals dissolve, after the physical armor, as some call it, starts to drop. That's when you can feel unrecognizable to yourself.
That really flips the script.
Yeah.
So the work isn't over when the weight goal is met. In some ways, a different kind of work is just beginning. Does that match how Adrienne felt? That sense of disappearance?
Absolutely. She wasn't actually mourning the lost pounds. She realized she was mourning the version of herself who had carried them.
The familiar self.
The one who knew exactly how to use a joke to manage a room, or which sweater felt safest, which ones covered things up. She felt like a body in transition and a mind without a map.
Wow, a mind without a map. That's isolating. So how did Dan approach this? Did he just say, get used to the new you?
No, not his style at all. Mostly he listened. He provided a space that Adrienne described as a mirror that doesn't ask questions, only returns what you're ready to see.
That's patient.
Very. His core message was simple. The weight loss is just the clearing.
Just the clearing, like clearing away brush.
Right, but the becoming, he'd say, takes longer. It's a process. You have to give it time.
So it wasn't about fixing her feelings, but about helping her re-narrate.
Exactly. They worked on rewriting the names of things, shifting the internal language.
Okay, like what? Can you give an example?
Sure. So shame, which had been this heavy constant for her, they worked on reframing it as memory, something that happened but isn't defining her now.
Okay, shame becomes memory. What else?
Control, that tight grip she always felt she needed, that shifted towards curiosity, exploring sensations and feelings instead of clamping down.
Controlled curiosity. I like that.
And discipline, which often feels like a punishment, that evolved into alignment, making choices that felt genuinely aligned with who she wanted to be, not just forcing herself.
Shame to memory, control to curiosity, discipline to alignment. That's a powerful shift in perspective.
It really is. And slowly, very slowly, Adrienne started to fill that new physical frame, not with pressure, but with permission. Permission to be in that awkward in-between stage. Permission to not quite know who she was yet. Permission to build a new story without needing to, like, completely erase the old one.
So progress wasn't some sudden flash of recognition in the mirror.
No. Progress was simply being able to stand at the mirror a little longer each time without flinching away. Small steps.
That's huge, though. And maybe for you listening, if you've ever felt that disconnect, looking in the mirror and seeing a shape that feels foreign, even if it's better.
Yeah.
It feels more like a stranger than home. You're not alone. Dan's perspective suggests you're just in that part of the story, the chapter, where you learn how to belong to yourself again.
The old hunger might be gone, but maybe something more honest, more truly you is starting to arrive.
Let it in. Give it time. You're not behind schedule. You're just beginning.
Beautifully put. And that idea of process, of giving things time, it leads perfectly into our third key insight from Dan Hollis.
Which is all about how we handle, well, messing up, setbacks, failure.
Right, because for so many of us, especially around weight or health goals, failure feels like the end, like proof that we're weak or broken.
Oh, yeah. That internal critic goes into overdrive, doesn't it?
Yeah.
See, I knew you couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But Dan Hollis apparently sees it very, very differently.
And completely differently. It's almost revolutionary. He says, failure isn't the end, it's a message.
A message.
A moment of feedback. And sometimes, he adds, it's the most honest conversation you'll ever have with yourself. He reframes it entirely. It's not a shame story. It's a data point.
A data point. Okay, I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So, like, if someone relapses, goes back to old eating habits,
Yeah.
that's not a moral failing.
According to Dan, no. He teaches that a relapse is often just the brain asking for the old familiar rhythm. It's signaling something.
A need, maybe.
A need, a pattern, a stress response. And he says if you just ignore that signal, or worse, beat yourself up over it, you don't just fail temporarily, you fracture. You create a deeper break.
Wow. Okay, so it's about understanding why the relapse happened, not just condemning it.
Exactly. Which connects to another really crucial point he makes. Most people aren't failing semaglutide, or whatever tool they're using. They're failing to prepare for what comes after it.
Failing to prepare for the psychological shift, the quiet window, the identity lag, all of it.
Right. It's not usually the tool itself that's the problem. It's the lack of readiness, the lack of support systems for navigating the mental and emotional changes that come with the physical ones.
So breakdowns or setbacks, they aren't signs of weakness then.
Not at all. Dan sees them as vital information. They indicate that the support system needs reinforcing. He even says setbacks are sacred.
Sacred. That's a strong word for a slip-up.
It is. But he means sacred if you're willing to look at them with curiosity instead of judgment. It flips everything. The stumble becomes an opportunity, not a catastrophe.
And how does grace fit into this? We hear that word a lot, give yourself grace. But what does it practically mean here?
Dan's definition is very practical. He says grace is built in the moment after the stumble. It's when you respond by reaching for a better tool instead of reaching for blame.
So it's not just letting yourself off the hook. It's about constructive response versus destructive self-criticism.
Precisely. It's choosing self-compassion and problem-solving over just self-recrimination.
And I bet asking the right questions is key to that.
Huge. He taught the author of one piece we looked at to ask two simple but powerful questions after a perceived failure. What story am I telling myself about this failure?
Okay, interrogating the narrative.
Right. And then, is that story helping me become who I want to be?
Oof, that cuts deep. Is this narrative serving my growth or keeping me stuck?
Exactly. It forces you to take a step back, look at the pattern, and choose a more empowering interpretation, one that allows for learning and moving forward.
It's really clear how these ideas from Dan Hollis, they started maybe in the context of weight loss, but they ripple out, don't they?
Absolutely. The author mentioned how this way of thinking fundamentally changed their relationship with any misstep in life. It taught them how to fail forward.
Fail forward. That might just be the most valuable skill of all.
It could be. True resilience isn't about never falling. It's about how you get back up, what you learn when you do.
And maybe for you listening, it's worth considering. How do you talk to yourself after a setback? Could shifting that perspective, seeing failure as feedback, not fault, could that be the real transformation?
A profound thought.
We've covered so much ground today.
Yeah.
Really remarkable stuff. We went from that startling quiet when cravings disappear to that weird feeling of not recognizing yourself, the identity lag, and landed on this incredibly powerful way to reframe setbacks, to fail gracefully or fail forward.
It really underscores that true change, especially with these new medical interventions, it's so much more than skin deep. The physical is just the start.
Yeah, this deep dive really highlights the crucial emotional, psychological work that happens after those first visible changes. That's where the integration happens, right?
Absolutely. And if any of this resonated with you, the quiet, the strangeness in the mirror, the struggle with setbacks, please know you're experiencing something very human, very common, and big personal changes. You're not alone in it.
Definitely not.
Yeah.
So we'll leave you with this to chew on. If the physical changes, the weight loss are, as Dan Hollis puts it, just the clearing. What deeper becoming is waiting for you on that cleared runway. Now that things are quieter, what conversations are you ready, truly ready to have with yourself?